Come on.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another session with the One-Eyed Fat Man. I'm Michael from One-Eyed Fat Man Studios, and today we're going to do some more stuff on the zombie Godzilla. What I'm doing right now is waiting for Godzilla's finger bones to bake, and they're almost done. So an easy way to do small polymer clay pieces is with a lighter, a heat gun, or leave a small toaster oven open on the temperature. You want to go up about, it says 350, go up to 400. Okay? What I've done is I've gone ahead and made a couple of pieces that we're going to put on today. We've got this, which is Godzilla's hand. We've got these, which I guess some people are calling them snakes of clay. Me, they're more like cables of clay. And we've got this. This is cut out of a piece that I ran through my pasta maker. And since you saw it last time, I've done a little bit more work. So let me go over here and get these bones out, and then we'll get started. There we go. We'll set these over here to cool on the top of the toaster oven. And what I've done is, if you remember before, I had made 4 large rib bones. So what we did with those rib bones is, I say we, I must have a rabbit in my pocket, is I cut them in half, and then I used a Dremel to grind them down, and they kind of became this. So they were ground down, Dremeled down, I baked them enough to yellow, and that's what we've got right here. So what we've got inside here is we have the large and small intestines, the spleen, and the lung, and then the heart you can barely see back up over here. But what I've done is I've taken a strip of clay and put over here like a strip of flesh, just to give you an idea of how we do it. Now what I do is I cut it and I place it on, and then I go in and I texture it and I design it. Up here you can see part of the arm bones to where they're exposed. We'll deal with that on another one. We are going to deal with the hand. The idea for this Godzilla is to have this hand pretty much jacked up. Whatever killed him destroyed this side of his body. So, I've got those out. I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to try to kind of walk you through what we're doing here. So, you'll have to kind of come in to where you can see it, because you may even have to be over my head. But I take this piece of clay, which I've pre-cut, and what I want to do is I want to come up here and figure out where I want it to go. So, we'll say right there. So we place it up here. We place this piece right over here on the body where we want it to go, okay? Now, I take this tool and I kind of I don't smooth it completely in, but I get it in there enough that it's actually not gonna pop free when I'm pushing on it. Now what I'm doing here is this bone here is actually out, so I'm taking the end of it and kind of pushing that clay in there in between the ribs. And you have to forgive me because my right arm is still going numb, so this is going to be a little tedious, but I'll try to do it as best I can with this current bit of shenanigans I'm dealing with. So, kind of use my finger there, where you see where I've already done some work here. With this strip of skin, I'll go ahead and just kind of blend it in and push down on the rib. But these ribs are in the clay about 1/4 of an inch underneath, so they shouldn't move on me. Take a cigarette lighter, kind of warm that a little bit. That's all you really have to do. Then I'm going to smooth this onto the bone. So you're going to smooth it both ways. This I'm going to give more of a Where's my tool? I want to see a little bit more of that particular rib, so I'm going to cut up in there and kind of... And these jagged edges are okay because you're talking about... And everybody, okay, well, Godzilla has a healing factor. He's not going to zombify. Well, my Godzilla did. He died. He turned into a zombie. So before the naysayers get a hold of his healing factor, this is my Godzilla, and he died. And don't tell me he can't die because they found a skeleton in the 2014 movie. And then go back to 1954 and tell him he can't die. I'm being facetious, but that's okay. So, as you're smoothing these onto the ribs, you want to kind of pull that clay real thin, okay? Because you want to make sure it gets a good grip. Now, when I sculpted the ribs, I sculpted grooves into them because I knew the clay would have to hold on to something. And this way, instead of having a smooth surface for the clay to try and grab onto, I've got this surface that's kind of porous because I've designed it that way. And for, you'll pull them around this way. Can you still see him? Mm-hmm. So some of the smaller tools get in here and push this clay around. Don't worry about messing up the clay because, I mean, honestly, he's undead. The more damage, realistic looking damage you can do to him, the better. I mean, you're looking at all these little straight edges here. That doesn't look like rot. That just looks like, you know, somebody's cut it. But we're going to fix that here in a minute. And one of the things I do is I take this tool and I kind of go in here and figure out where I want this flesh to be all rotted away, stripped out. You know, maybe there are large... I mean, with this Godzilla's size, he's 393 foot tall. He could have vultures living off him, eating the dead skin, and he wouldn't even know it, to be quite honest with you. So, kind of like the parasites that live on other animals and clean them up from, you know, any bacteria or mites or stuff like that. But just kind of taking it to the next level with it being a zombie. And so we just keep going in and just really damaging these, you know, let it, see, it came off right there, so push that on there a little bit better. I'll use my finger. So we pull that out and, you know, do that damage there, go back over here. You know, you've got, Godzilla has a particular looking skin in the monster verse. So, you know, when I go back in and I start doing the scales, I'll come in here and I'll actually put the scale pattern on this skin so it'll look correct. Right now I'm just going with a scaleless skin pattern so I can get the damage and stuff done to him. And so, you know, big, long chunks just completely missing, you know, and then just let them kind of stick there. Let it be, you know, not smoothed out and cleaned up. I'm gonna have to do it left-handed under this arm here, and then take it back in here and kind of do that. And then here, kind of actually cut it and let it flow over the downside of the rib. And then over here we can kind of poke a hole in it and do the same, you know, more damage. All right, now I take this tool and I go in here and I kind of remove areas along where I've done the damage. And you just kind of get my brush, kind of Knock that off there. We've got a surprise coming up in the next couple of weeks. We have Hack from Hack's Horror Show is going to be in here, and we're going to be doing a little video thing with him. And Lawrence Bobbitt from Paranormal Veil Entertainment will be here, and we will be talking about the Brushy Mountain paranormal experience he just did. And we'll be talking about some of his upcoming hunts, some of the stuff that Hack's going to be doing over the next couple of months. So you definitely want to, keep watching over the next week, because we've got quite a few things we're going to be doing. Now, going in here and just literally marking up the clay, letting it just have that rotted, barely holding on to. This Godzilla is much thinner than any other Godzilla you're going to see, because he's emaciated, he's rotting, the body fat is deteriorating, so he's being driven by hunger. These creatures supposedly live off nuclear material, but when you're a zombie like this, what does that nuclear material do to the rotting corpse? So we kind of keep that in mind. Okay, and then we can take a brush over it, and kind of do some stuff to brush strokes that will give it a different look. I've got hair in my toothbrush there. That's what you get for having long hair, isn't it? Okay, so you kind of, if you want to come up in here and take a look at what I've done, we've given him, and there'll be more flesh that I'm going to put on it and some other stuff. But that gives you an idea of how to do that. It's not a very hard thing to do. It's just time consuming. And actually, if you're doing a character this big, it's actually a lot easier to do it on this scale than it is on some of the smaller scales, because at the end of the day, it's going to be easier to see where you may need to do some other work and things of that nature. So now we're going to work on the hand. And I've already sculpted the hand. These should be kind of cooled off by now, and they are. So these are the finger bones I made for this hand. And if you look at this hand, you're going to see that he's missing half of his middle finger. Okay, and being that his middle finger is much longer than, but if you look at this Godzilla's hand, his fingers kind of go large, medium, small. And this finger is completely gone. I haven't done any of the, definition in the hand, but, you kind of come in, where's the joint? And you kind of want to mark it. I kind of just sort of push the clay to a point, and then that gives me an idea where I need to start working to. Now, I didn't do these hands like I normally do, because I wanted to do them real quick and real basic. I mean, the process that I showed on one of my other videos is a really good way of doing hands and fingers. But it can also sometimes, and even though I did it as, I think, 5-minute hands, the one video I did, it actually took a lot longer than 5 minutes, because I was preoccupied with, children and everything else. But you can do a hand, basically, real quickly. I am listening to the Godzilla vs. Kong soundtrack in the background from Warner's Records by Tom Holkenborg. I think that's how you say it, or probably wrong. I am from the South. We tend to enunciate a lot differently. So, get over it. There's your little redneck impersonation for the day. Now, first things first is we have the middle finger. So, Godzilla's good. Now, if I put that on there like that, it's not going to look right. So, what I've done is I've designed it to where it will go down in and kind of look like that finger has been bitten off. This is definitely not Godzilla vs. Kong. What happened? We'll just put it on Godzilla King of the Monsters. Okay, then we have the little finger. And we do that like so. Okay. Now, very similar to what we do up here, we want the skin to be jagged, damaged, messed up. Is the Munchkin behind me? Come here, Munchkin. This is my ultimate Godzilla fan back here. So you see Daddy's making the Godzilla hand like his fingers have been bitten off or broken off. We're not for sure what monster or what creature killed Godzilla, but it did a lot of damage to him. So this Godzilla's, he's pretty screwed up. But, I made this bone long enough so if I wanted to cut down into it and show more bone along it, I could. Now, granted, I still need to make Godzilla's fingernails, which will be made out of the same thing, which is Kato polyclay. So, but that kind of gives you the idea what we're going for. Now, I've not put any knuckles on. I've not put any of the pad of his hand on. So I'll kind of do that real quick to just give you kind of an idea. And if you want to zoom in over here, hon, you can, because it's going to be kind of... I need to look for the right tool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down between the fingers. Okay? And we just kind of do it like that. It's almost like drawing. Sorry, I'm in the way. I sliced my finger open the other day, so it's quite painful. Let me get this real quick. Now that we've got that done, we're going to go over it. Then we're going to take this edge and we're going to smooth it and try to get rid of some of that, the lines. Now this will be covered by scales and stuff later, but it gives me an idea of where. It's my landmarks to know where to put bones, where knuckles need to go, so on and so forth. And the knuckles are real simple. I make little diamonds or eggs, and then I look at how they're positioned, and then I place them back here and just set them. Okay, so I need to move that one forward a little bit. And it's going to look really weird at first because it's not smoothed in. And then I take... we'll do 3 of these because Godzilla, of course, has 3 fingers and a thumb. In this case, 1.5 fingers and a thumb. So your middle finger should be a little bit bigger if you're going on the whole Godzilla's middle finger is the biggest finger. So we'll go with that. And then the smallest one should be the last finger. So this is kind of what we've got, okay? It's real simple, it's real easy. Then, take our tool, and we slowly begin to pull back. We don't want to just pull back to where it's at just a sudden drop, because it just doesn't look natural. Okay, you want it to slope. You want to kind of look like that there's actually a bone under there. He doesn't have John Carradine fingers, so no arthritis. And I'm sure most of you that know who John Carradine is in the horror community, you know what I'm talking about. Both him and, was it James Colburn? James Colburn got that same bad, very degenerative arthritis, so we don't want to give that to him. This is, pop culture related, so we'll talk about movies. Everybody excited that Black Widow starts today. Most people watched it last night on the premiere at like 1 or 2 in the morning on Disney Plus. So I've heard a lot of good things about it. We're going to see it at the drive-in tomorrow. So hopefully it will not rain and we can all go to the drive-in. And hopefully nothing happens like it did last time. We had a family emergency 10 minutes into the first movie. So we had to leave. Now, this is a little hard because of my thumb having a Band-Aid on it, but I think you get the idea of where I'm going with him. Can you see that? Okay, now, I'm not going to detail this. This is just getting it on there. Once again, taking the tool, putting the fold of the knuckle in there, doing the same thing for the thumb. Now, so there you go. Okay, now we're going to put this part of the hand on there because it's not something it's not going to get in the way of how we attach it. And we just basically are looking at a piece of clay, kind of flatten it, position it how you want it. I'm going to put that one right there. And then we're going to come back and get this one. Do the same thing, a little bit different shape. And we're going to put it right there. Now, we're coming in here where the fingers joints are on the hand. So we're coming back in, we're making those marks. Okay? And doing the same thing here with this little finger. Even though a lot of it's missing, you know, there's still enough that we can see that. And then we bring these up here and put them at the base of where we made those marks. We just very carefully smooth it into where we put the marks. Because we'll go back in and put those marks back in, but we're kind of drawing a pattern for ourselves in the clay that we can use for reference. You know, much like artists will draw an X to do a face or something of that nature, you can do the same thing on clay. You can map it. A lot of people will draw out what they're going to sculpt. I don't, because what I sculpt obviously changes quite a bit during the process. I don't think anything I've actually ever planned out has been the way I planned it out when I got, because I'll look, oh, this would look cool, or that would look cool, or someone will come in and they'll say something, oh man, I ought to try that. So, you know, don't be so rigid that you have to stick to your original design. This started out as Mechagodzilla. He started out as the Monsterverse Mechagodzilla. And because of the issue with my hand, I had to change what I was doing, because doing all the little mechanical pieces to it was hurting me. And so it went from that to a larger version of the ice block creature from The Thing, but I wasn't really feeling it. And then I was just going to do the biggest Godzilla that I'd ever done, because this thing's measured out at 6 foot from one end of the wire to the other. And then it became Zombie Godzilla. So there we go. As you can see, got the pad in the hand. Now this right here is where the wire is. Okay? So I don't, if you want to come to this side and show it to them, so I will put clay over that wire, okay? And then I will finish putting on the pad for the lower part of the hand, the heel of the hand and the thumb muscle. And then I will go back in and I will put the two nails in, the thumb and the fingernail, and then I will add the details. But that kind of gives you an idea of where we're going. And there will be an area here. I'm not going to bake the clay tonight because I don't want to over stimulate the old brain. But what I'm looking at doing is like somewhere in here having a large section cut out, or just something. Maybe not show bone, but actually sculpt muscle detail in there. And that's just as simply as going in here, where do I want to do it? So we're going to put flesh over this, kind of like we did here, so it'll look more natural. But this arm, this leg is going to have some huge claw marks in it. I don't know how deep I'm going to get into it. I may actually make a piece here where you see the tailbone, and then maybe make the end of the tail mostly bone and muscle. And then, of course, there will be the zombification of Godzilla's head. Okay, so this is, please stop doing that. So this Godzilla's head, I can kind of take this clay and hold it on for now. So you're going to have this Godzilla kind of beat up, coming out of the water. I've even thought about maybe having his eye out, laying on his cheek, and having huge claw marks. But this Godzilla fought and fought hard. And he lost that fight, but the zombie virus hit him, and he's back looking for the one that killed him. And, you know, I spent a lot of time watching Godzilla vs. Kong to get the interior of the mouth and the gullet correct. So that's where we're at. We're kind of at a place now where I'm starting to add stuff to it, starting to take stuff away. It's moving along much quicker than the previous large Godzilla I made. So, kind of where we're at. You know, if you like this kind of thing, be sure to check back for more sculpting videos and more podcasts from the paranormal and from the pop culture universe, talking to different people. I'm hoping to be able to do a kind of walkthrough with a former special effects artist. It would be nice. And if we can do that. We'll be doing more videos on him next week. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, One-Eyed Fat Man Studios. You can also check out the store, which is called Pop Culture Autographs and Collectibles on Facebook. And is that on Instagram and Twitter and all that too? So, don't know. And then hit the bell notification. If you like the video, hit a like. It helps me. You know, subscribe. Tell your friends about it. We really want to push showing people how easy sculpting is and how quickly you could go from nothing to something. We're going to go over here for a minute. And this is my neighbor's son. He has never sculpted before in his life. And this is his very first sculpture, which is the Bewildered Beast from How to Train Your Dragon. This is Trevor, the gentleman who did this. This is his brother Hatcher, his very first sculpture, which he was inspired by looking at the back of cosplay. And he just started making a dragon. So, kudos to Monster Makers for putting out cosplay, because you inspired somebody. This is Steven's Godzilla. Who is this?
Zombie.
Huh? Zombie Godzilla. Who's this?
Ice Dragon.
Ice Dragon. Steven is 6. And then we have here, my 13-year-old Gabriel is working on Naruto. And this is his 4th sculpture. But I've just started showing him how to do fabric and stuff. He's doing really well. So this is going to be Naruto. So that being said and done, this over here is the owner of Pop Culture Autographs and Collectibles. That's Greg. My wife is doing the camera work. We are getting ready to go home. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was done in a way that it's easy to understand. That's my goal. You know, kind of a Bob Ross, everybody should be able to do it. But, however, let me know what you want to see in the future. Anything you want me to sculpt. And I'm Michael with One-Eyed Fat Man Studios, and I'll catch you next time.